Hey everybody, welcome to Big Balls Fantasy Football, the show with powerful picks, sexy super fans, and is really fun. I'm your host, 20-year fantasy veteran, and real Bears fan, Greg Reifsteck.
And I'm your co-host, Jenna Bork, also a 10-year fantasy veteran, and as you can see, I like the Chicago Bears as well. And so does little Zoe here. She has her jersey on this week. And together we are the beauty
and the beast
of fantasy football experts.
So the reason I'm doing the whole real thing, and of course Jenny is a real fan too, is the Twitterverse blew up this week after the Bears game, after the Bears loss that made us drop to 2-3. And Lamar Houston decided to go on Twitter, on his Twitter feed, and rant 4 or 5 tweets about Bear fans being real Bear fans and not standing by the team. I quote, "Where are my real," with a little bear, couldn't even say bear, "where are my real Bear fans? The ones who don't waver during the storm, the tough ones, those who are the ones we need, those are the ones we need, the rest of you can eat dirt." How does that make you feel as a Bears fan?
I just think it's not something a player should do. Obviously, he's only played 5 games with the Bears. We just signed him in free agency. I'm pretty sure that the coach is going to say something to him about that. One thing that they love about Houston is that he's a fiery guy on the field. He's been pretty great against the run. That's one of the reasons we signed him in free agency. But I just don't think you should ever go on social media. When will players learn, and celebrities and all this, people follow you, and we do tend as media people to extra blow up things that celebrities say and players say, and I just don't think it was a good idea. That's not the way to gain fans in Chicago.
He should know it. Being a former Raider, they're a huge diehard fan base. We are a huge diehard fan base. Just don't mess with us. Why poke us? Why poke the bear, so to speak? And it's just not a smart move.
And you're not winning games.
Right.
So of course your fans are going to be upset when you're not winning games. You have a losing record.
No sacks and under 500. Shut up. So let's leave it at that. Had to get it off my chest because I just kept reading about it and going, damn. So, you got to actually watch the Bears game this week at the Tin Horn. I unfortunately had company in town that were from Chicago but weren't football fans, so I got stuck listening on the radio on the way to and from LAX. But tell us what you saw.
It was the happiest place on earth, like it typically is when we were winning. We were up by 14 points. It looked like the Bears were playing pretty solid. And then just during that second half, we could not sustain drives. It just seemed like we couldn't get anything going offensively. We're an offensive-minded team. That's always the scary part. Our defense was keeping us in it for sure, but our offense could not get rolling. And then it becomes the saddest place on earth, and we ended up losing the game. So I don't think anyone truly saw that coming, especially with how the game was going.
And from what I was hearing there, you can point fingers at everywhere. You can point them at Forte for the fumble at the most crucial part of the game. You can point them at Cutler for obvious reasons. I'll get to Cutler's stats in my segment because actually, from a fantasy standpoint, he had a good game. But from a Bears winning standpoint, he had a horrible game.
Yeah, and again, it's the same story over and over. 2-2, or shall we say, that touchdown interception ratio, and he didn't get it done. In the games that we have won this year, he has taken care of the ball. He has thrown no interceptions in the games we've won, and you just can't have those mistakes.
Want to run down the Bears stats?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for Bears, fantasy-wise, of course, since we're a fantasy show, Alshon had a good day. He had 6 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. I had him in a league. I played against him in a league. Like, that always happens. So, good for me and bad for me. B. Marsh did not do much. Trustman has said that they need to get him more looks. They have to get him more targets. He only had 3 catches for 44 yards. Martellus Bennett had his slowest week so far of the season. He had 3 catches for 17 yards. And Forte had a great day fantasy-wise for you guys. He had 61 rushing yards, but he had 12 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown and that fumble, which obviously was at basically the worst time in the game that could happen. But fantasy-wise, you got your points.
And I wasn't going to say this, but on Facebook, we used to post our things on a page called The Bears, and he called me out on saying I didn't know anything about fantasy because I thought Matt Forte was going to do well this game. Proof's in the pudding, boy. That's all I have to say. Anyway.
Yeah, they were getting him. They were getting him receptions, and if you're again in PPR, you really love that.
I mean, I just knew that eventually, finally, when I was listening on the radio, we're going to finally start passing to him out of the backfield, and we're finally going to get him in open space. That's where he thrives. And finally, Trestman figured that out. You can't pound Forte up the middle. You pass to him on slant routes, you pass to him out in open space, he's going to get you points.
But they had also said that the game plan during those first 3 games, because of the defenses they were playing, their plan wasn't to run the ball. Their plan wasn't to get him going as much. Now, these last 2 defenses they've played are not very good against the run. So there you go. They get him going early, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is shocking. Carolina used to be good against the run, but I knew they weren't, and that's why I gave them to you guys. My other 2 picks, sorry about them last week, but Forte was a stud last week. Cam Newton, I unfortunately, actually I had him in one of my leagues, but I put in Andy Dalton instead smartly because 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But Cam Newton isn't running right now because he's still gimpy. So you're getting the passing yards, but you're used to those passing yards on top of those running yards from him, and they're just not coming this season. I don't think we're going to get them for another few weeks yet because he's still limping around. Greg Olsen, hey, Mr. Jerry Angelo, thanks for finally admitting in the press that you messed up by giving away Greg Olsen, but we have Martellus Bennett now, so that's okay. 6 looks, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good points there at tight end. No Panther receivers had over 50 yards and no touchdowns.
No touchdowns for the Panther receivers. So, to show you a little bit that our defense wasn't playing terrible, they were definitely keeping us in this game. They didn't allow any receivers to get touchdowns. They couldn't do anything against Greg Olsen. That's obvious in the stats. And the Bears defense also only gave up 321 yards of offense. So again, I do not call this a defensive loss. To me, this one was on the offense. The offense needed to put up more points and not get turnovers. What else about the Bears offense?
Of course, first half we looked pretty good. Second half in a lot of these games, even the games that we've eked out, except for the Jets game actually, which was the only one that was the reverse. Second half.
And the Niners.
Yeah.
The Niners.
Yeah, but
the Niners was the second half. When we
scored. But I mean, these last 2 games, we haven't put it together. We haven't put it together these last few games. It's a flip-flop of our first 2 games, actually. Just, we need to keep consistency. Jay Cutler needs to concentrate. He can't get into his own head. He needs to catch the ball. And also, the receivers can't do drops either. I mean, there were drops by Jeffrey. There were drops by all the receivers, actually. Marshall, of course, as well, but he's injured. But here's the deal. Either play Marshall and play him healthy or keep him out a week, let him get healthy. We have Santonio Holmes. We're able to actually do something else on offense. I know B. Marsh is B. Marsh. But
well, he says he's healthy right now. He said he was the healthiest last week that he's been since injuring himself. So the healthy B. Marsh needs to see more targets.
Definitely. Anything else?
Just that the turnover ratio, the Bears had 4 and the Panthers had 3. So again, you cannot have that many turnovers and win the game. Bears only scored 3 points in the second half. 3 points in the second half is not going to win you games. It's not going to happen. So
Definitely
unless
not.
You're blowing the team out, and clearly we weren't doing that.
Definitely not. So this show, we are going to have a fun little segment this week that we're going to end with. That's going to be called studs and duds, where we're actually going to give you some players that actually were surprises that went late in your draft that actually have come on and gotten people really good fantasy points that had very, very low rankings in the drafts. And then we're going to have players that were the exact opposite. LaShawn McCoy. And
See, he gave mine away already.
Oh, but sorry. He's the Stevan Ridley of this season. I'm sorry, but
I'll have more to say about that.
exactly. And so we're going to have more. That's just an example of studs and duds that are going to come up at the end. But this week, I'm going first.
Yep, Beast Mode is first up.